Welcome to the second video in the Unlocking Gann series. Now in the second video, it's just like the first one. You really need to watch it all the way through, so hopefully you'll be able to catch all the little tidbits that I have hidden inside of it. But even if you don't catch those tidbits, listen to what I'm saying because it's actually very important. In the second video of the Unlocking Gann series, I'm going to take a quick tangent to the Bible to give an example of the coding that it contains. You and I will be looking in the Bible in the Old Testament in this video. We will need to go to the book of Ezekiel and look in the 4th chapter. We go straight to the 4th, 5th, and 6th verses of the 4th chapter. In a bit, when we do go read those verses, we will be looking for the numbers that Ezekiel is using. The numbers give us the first part of the information to use, but to decode the entire hidden secret in those verses, we'll need more. To be able to move forward, we'll also need a place or placement. Ezekiel gives us that by writing of a certain tribe of Israel. Now, the reason for to decode the Bible is to show Gann's possible methods of encoding any secret information in his books. Reading verses 4, 5, and 6 of the 4th chapter, we read of Ezekiel using a conversion of days to years. Even though that plays into the total framework encoded into the book of Ezekiel, we won't be looking at that part in this video. In the age of computers, the hidden secrets can be found quickly by looking at the differences of numbers or the series they create. Sometimes the very first thing you see is all there is, but there are other times where it's only the beginning. Now, moving on here. Now, here are the three verses we need to look at. Ezekiel chapter 4. We're going to use the King James Version, because that's what Gann used usually. And verse 4, Lie thou upon thy left side, and lay the iniquity of the house of Israel upon it. According to the number of the days thou shalt lie upon it, thou shalt bear their iniquity. Verse 5, For I have laid upon thee the years of their iniquity, according to the number of the days. 390 days thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Israel. Verse 6, And when thou hast accomplished them, lie again on thy right side, and thou shalt bear the iniquity of the house of Judah 40 days. I have appointed thee each day for a year. So the basic information we get from reading these three verses is Ezekiel was on his left side for 390 days. He was on his right side for 40 days. And those 40 days were specifically for the house of Judah, a very specific house. One of the 12 houses was mentioned. And each day is for a year. Now, like I said before, we're not going to be going into the day for a year aspect in this video, but we will be looking at the other things. The first thing you might notice is that Judah gets 40 days, and the whole of Israel, or the remaining 11 tribes, gets 390 days. And if we do some math, we see that 390 divided by all 12 tribes equals 32.5 days. So this doesn't match Judah having 40 days. If we take 390 and divide it by 11 tribes, or the 12 tribes minus Judah, it's 35.45 days, which again does not match Judah having 40 days. So something else has to be going on here. And there is. Let's see here. This is where the knowledge of astronomy comes in handy. It turns out that 390 days is exactly 1/2 of the Earth-Mars synodic cycle of 780 days. And 40 days is approximately 1/2 of the Mars retrograde period of about 80 days. The length of the retro period depends on where in the zodiac it happens. Also, the retrograde motion of the planet is indicated by Ezekiel's turning over from the left to the right side. So Ezekiel is pointing out the Earth-Mars synodic cycle, at least half of it. And you may ask, why half? Well, the answer to that is Ezekiel is also pointing out another cycle, a much larger one. In other words, he's giving you a particular version of his wheels within a wheels, or cycles within a much larger cycle in this case. You see, the Sun-Mars synodic cycle, which is also the Earth-Mars synodic cycle, is always 780 days in total. Because Mars' orbit is elliptical, though, the speed of the planet changes at different parts in the orbit. So dependent upon where the Sun-Mars conjunction or opposition actually happens, the number of days between them varies. So that means the number of days from a Sun-Mars conjunction to opposition varies dependent upon where in the zodiac the cycle starts. Sometimes it takes longer to go from the conjunction to the opposition, and other times it takes longer to go from the opposition to the conjunction. But the total is always 780 days. When you have the correct starting point for the Sun-Mars cycle, 390 days later, Mars will go retrograde in the head of Leo, which is the sign that rules the tribe of Judah. Then 40 days later, Mars and the Sun are exactly in opposition to each other. After that particular synodic cycle happens, it takes many, many years for everything to line back up for that cycle to happen again, where the Sun and Mars are conjunct in the latter part of Scorpio, and 390 days later, Mars will go retrograde in the head of Leo, which is actually in the later part of the constellation of Cancer. So if you look this up in an ephemeris, don't let it confuse you. Actually pay attention to where the actual constellations are. Then, of course, 40 days after it goes retrograde or turns station to go retrograde, Mars and the Sun are in exact opposition to each other. So this is what Ezekiel was actually pointing out, was a specific location in the zodiac for this Sun-Mars synodic cycle to happen, or at least the first half of it. And it takes many, many years for that cycle to line back up and happen in exactly the same place. Excuse me. So Ezekiel was not only pointing out the Sun-Mars synodic cycle, but by giving specifics for only half of the cycle, he was also pointing out a much larger Mars cycle, truly a wheel within a wheel. So I hope you got something out of this video. It's already running a bit longer than I had intended, and I hope to see you again, or I hope you watch the next video. Thank you.